Welcome back, everybody. Today we will finish our conversation about market failures by looking at income inequality, poverty, and government's response to that situation. Our goal is to be able to explain how income inequality is measured, as well as looking at some of the potential causes of poverty, as well as the government's response to addressing issues related to poverty, including some of the major anti-poverty programs that are in place. We begin by recognizing that income inequality exists in the market. Income is not evenly distributed across all quintiles. The highest 20% of income earners have a significantly higher share of total income than people at the lowest quintile. It is alleviated a little bit if you take into account transfer payments from the government, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and taxes paid by those higher income earners. But it still remains the case that there is, in fact, a significant amount of income inequality in the market. How much is measured by what we call the LORENZ curve. And the LORENZ curve's purpose is to essentially compare the actual distribution of income against an equal distribution of income. And the LORENZ curve calculates a number known as the Gini coefficient. And that Gini coefficient tells us to what extent income inequality exists in a market. It doesn't tell us whether it's good or bad. That's sort of a moral decision or an ethical decision. But it does tell us to what extent income inequality exists. That Gini coefficient will range from either 0 to 1. 0 means that income is equally distributed. That is, there is no deviation from sort of a perfectly equal distribution. And if the Gini coefficient is 1, it means that income is held entirely by one person. There is, in fact, 100% deviation from this perfectly equal distribution. The reality is that nations will fall somewhere in between 0 and 1. Your Gini coefficient depends in part on how you choose to measure it. Officially, the Gini coefficient in America is 0.482. But that number, which indicates a certain level of income inequality, is reduced when you take into account the effect of taxes and transfers. That is, as the government taxes those with higher incomes through the progressive tax system and transfers that to people at the lower income levels, you see the disparity begins to be reduced. Not entirely by any stretch of the imagination, but when it comes to the actual impact of income inequality, it is somewhat less than officially reported by the Census Bureau. Poverty does remain a challenge and a problem within the market. The Census Bureau is busy, tasked with calculating poverty rates. And so the definition is a family income of about $25,700 for a family of 4, which in 2018 meant that about 38.1 million people in America were below the poverty line. There are a number of factors that are correlated with poverty. None of these factors cause poverty necessarily, but they are in fact correlated with poverty. Education level is one of them. Generally speaking, those with lower levels of education tend to have a higher poverty rate. Marital status, single parents especially, but single people in general, tend to have a higher poverty rate than those who are married. Type of job makes a difference. Part-time minimum wage workers are correlated with higher poverty rates than those who have full-time salaried positions. So what are some of the programs that exist to address poverty? Well, benefits are typically given in one of two ways, either through direct money transfers, that is cash payments, or through what are called in-kind benefits, which are goods and services received. And eligibility for benefits is determined in one of two ways, either through what is known as means testing based on your income levels, or non-means testing, which means that anybody, regardless of income, can receive the benefit. So when it comes to addressing poverty in America, There are programs that are means tested and direct money transfers, like what's known as the Earned Income Tax Credit or the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, where the government is literally sending a check to families. There are also means tested programs that provide in-kind benefits, like Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, sometimes called food stamps. They're not receiving money per se, but they are receiving goods that they can consume when their income is low enough. Or Medicaid, which is health insurance for the poor. There are other programs designed to address or prevent poverty from occurring in the United States that are not means tested. Social Security, for example, is a direct money transfer to people who are eligible, to senior citizens. Once you reach retirement age, you receive Social Security. The goal is to help you from slipping into poverty by providing a consistent source of income. It's not a lot, but it may be enough to prevent you from having to skip your medicine because you lack resources. Or unemployment insurance. It doesn't matter how much you earn. If you lose your job, you can file for unemployment insurance. The goal is to temporarily, at the very least, provide you with enough financial resources to put food on the table while you find a new job. And there are also in-kind services as well. Again, not means tested. So Medicare is health insurance for the elderly. It doesn't matter what your income was. We're providing you with this service to prevent you from slipping into poverty because you can't afford your health care. There has been a significant amount of progress when it comes to addressing poverty over the last 100, 200 years. Worldwide poverty is absolutely plummeting. There's still work to be done. There is still poverty around the world, and there are significant numbers of people who live in poverty. However, the percentage of people who live in poverty shrinks on a daily basis. And so while the job is not done, there has certainly been significant progress really in the last 100 years or so. And with that, we not only end our conversation about market failures, but we end our conversation on microeconomics in general. And I hope that you do well on your AP exam, and I will talk to you later.